the road. Here is how the playoff will be set up. And Garrett has a lot of graphics for us. The 5 highest-ranked conference champions are in. The next 7 highest-ranked teams per college football selection committee, not the AP or the coaches poll, are in. No conference with an automatic qualifier. No limit on the number of teams from a conference. That, you know, is what the SEC and the Big Ten want. First round bye for the highest ranked conference champions. First round home field advantage for teams that are ranked by the College Football Selection Committee from 5 through 8. New Year's 6 bowls will be the quarterfinals and the semifinals, and we'll have that schedule a little bit later on in the championship game, which next year, the 2024 championship game will be held in Atlanta, Georgia. So there we are with how it is structured.
Yeah, so theoretically, you know, and again, the SEC could wind up with 0 teams or 8. Like that.
Hey, by tomorrow evening, maybe Greg Sankey's got them 8 automatic qualifiers, because that's the part tomorrow coming up that's going to be very interesting.
And even though they're the SEC, and even though they will be top heavy and all of that, they still have to go out and earn that. Now, we can sit there and smirk over it, but no one is automatically a conference champion, top seed 1 through 4, but the one that was the nugget is no conference can have too many teams. You can't say, well, that knocks out the SEC. That's the 4th team in among the 12. They could have as many as 1. They could have as many as 8. You're right. They could have as many as 8 teams. Or anybody can as far as a conference.
I don't like the idea of the Big Ten and the SEC like going in and changing this game a little bit to guarantee that their conferences get them. Now, we know historically, but we've got to stop. And this is one of the committee's problems, is we've got to stop basing your qualifications for the playoffs on the history of your league. What happened in 2023 should not matter in 2024. The only thing that should matter year to year is what happens in 2024. And then what happens in 2024 is over the minute that the national championship trophy is hoisted and 2025 starts. That's where they need to get to. I don't know if that's realistic or that's pie in the sky idealism talking here, but saying that this conference or that conference deserves at least 1 automatic qualifier or more, or that they should be in every year, to me, flies in the face of what you're trying to do.
You really think they can get to that point?
No. Okay. No, because you're going to have your inherent biases anyway. But look, Alabama had this great run under Saban, and we know that they were great. But again, what Alabama did in 2009 has no bearing on what they're doing in 2023. And the fact that they've done it a lot, again, doesn't matter because you're looking at this year, and those are the things I think we've got to get by.
And I don't know if you ever can. It's like asking Democrats and Republicans to agree on something. Craig?
Yeah, no, I agree with Paul. I think there's very subjective arguments ongoing that are being treated as though like they're fact of like, oh, well, the 6th team in the SEC would definitely beat like the Big 12 champ. And you just hear that willy-nilly, and it's like, no, there's people that actually kind of believe that. And you know what? Maybe there's certain years where that could have happened because they're so strong. But I don't think it's every year, and I don't think it's automatic, and I don't think it's just the SEC. I think the Big Ten's positioning itself much the same way. My question is why? What have they – I mean, Michigan just won the title. Ohio State's been very good. They've got name brands, but we're talking about name brands and not necessarily results, which is what bothers me as well. There's a mixture of that also ongoing. And obviously this is all about TV ratings, so that plays into it all. But I do agree with Paul about kind of part of the argument that you already start to hear. The one part about the playoff that I still don't love, and I know there's plenty of people that don't like it in general as far as expanding, but I do. I just find it to be a bit more interesting than the 4-team playoff. I didn't like just the way that every year you had a 5 or a 6 that were getting squeezed, and I think this opens it up and makes it more interesting. And yes, I understand the risks of it becoming like 6 SEC teams or whatever, but I'd still rather see teams get a shot that otherwise wouldn't get a shot in this format. I don't know about you guys, but I'd still rather see, you know, Kansas State get a crack at least having the opportunity. And do I think they can go win 4 playoff games? No, I don't. I think this is all like everything else, rigged for two conferences, basically. And that this, if anything, almost ensures that no one else ever wins a championship other than the Big Ten or the SEC, because nobody else is likely going to have the resources to accumulate the depth and the talent needed to go through a through a 4-round playoff. Besides those two in the long run. And I hope that that's not the case. I hope I'm wrong on that, but that's how I felt for quite a while, and yet I still am in favor of that more so than the 4-team. I know that's kind of sounds backwards, but just from a fan standpoint, I'm more entertained by the idea of a 12-team. I still don't love the first-round bye, though. I don't like that. I don't like the idea of giving teams one less game to play. I'd rather you just give them home games. I remember the argument from months ago, well, that's not fair for the teams that get a bye. Well, then they don't get – it's almost like you're already politicking to get the bye and the home game. Like, you can see that coming down the pipeline. And it's like,
if
geez,
Georgia's
Louise.
won, they get the bye, but they
get to play
the second round.
It's just like you can't have everything, but I don't love that, and we'll see how it goes this first year. Maybe it's something that I changed my mind on, but just on the surface, I think the best teams don't really need to play less games, but I know – there's buys in the NFL and so on and so forth. So that'll be something I'm very curious about.
I do think that the way to argue for everybody to get home games would be down the line if you see the attendance not being great for neutral site down the line. Look, I'll go to the Sugar Bowl, but I'm not going to go to the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl and the national championship game. Like, if those attendance numbers slip, then they're going to have to adjust that in some way, and then we probably see a push towards home games in more than one round.
If any decision's made on attendance or ratings, then it's not a true playoff.
Well, fellas,
I know it will be.
That's college football, but also I think they're already discussing them, and you already see the seeds being planted in the media about the expansion of the playoff already. They haven't even played 12 yet. They're already talking about expanding. So I think that topic in particular will get addressed, because the next thing you know, we're going to have a 16 team, and then you're going to have 8 teams from one conference and 8 from another, or 6 from one, 6 from the other, and you'll have your top seeds that also get maybe not the bye, but they get those home games. So that's something that can change very quickly. I'm just interested in sort of how that looks this year, because it's such a change from what we've been seeing. But in general, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what all this looks like, but I'm also clutching my pearls just a little bit. Now, not for myself, but just for college football in general, and for those conferences that aren't in the top 2, because we already know the deck is stacked. But then when you start hearing some of the conversation, like as soon as this is passed, it's like, geez, Louise, like how much needs to be over in this pot and this pot alone,
Go win some of those games.
No,
and
that's all you can do.
It's going to be hard to win more than 1 or maybe 2, but go win some of those games. And there are going to be blowouts in every round, including what possibly could be the semifinals or the national championship.
I do think that the home game discussion for the top 4 seeds will be something over the long haul, but they're going to have to fight the New Year's 6 on that. So that, and the only thing that could change that is some financial model that somehow benefits them in the middle.
Sure.
Because I think part of it, and the argument isn't necessarily going to be about the home field advantage so much as Georgia's going to see, if Georgia's the number 1 seed and Michigan's the 5 seed, and Michigan gets to have that home game, and then they go back to the meeting and go, do you have any idea how much money we made on that game? Yep. Holy cow.
Yeah,
like the city's thrilled. Like, we had the hotel sold out. This is nuts.
Speaking of which,
we kind of want that, and
while you're saying that, I hope that there's not also some sort of devious plan that the seeds number 5 through 8 will all be in stadiums of 75 or 80,000. If there's a team ranked high enough and they have a stadium of 50,000 and they get to host a game, they get to host a game. And that's going to be hard for some people to stomach.
I can't wait to see 7th-ranked Tulane host a playoff game.
You know what? They went out and earned it. They earned it.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's just what people would like to know, though, is what am I going out and playing for? Or what are you going to change the rules to where it's, now I won out, but I'm not in the right conference, and so I don't, I think that those are the things that we'll just figure out as this process goes along. But the home field playoff games are going to be incredible to watch. Those atmospheres will be amazing. I think some that get the bye will miss out on the payday for sure, but I think they'll also want to be a part of that. I think you'll want to have a game in Athens to host the playoff round of 16, or I guess in this case, the 8 that are playing in that first round. But yeah, that's something that I just wonder about moving on past these first couple of years, and once we get a taste. And that's the thing, is this is brand new. There'll be some things that maybe I think that we love right now, or that I love right now, that I'm not so fond of when the time rolls around, and vice versa. But we'll have a couple years. And certainly this year will be the big trial run, because they've got a new playoff system they've got to create for a couple of years from now. So they don't really have a lot of time to waste, but at least they can move on from this whole debate about the 6-6, 5-7, or the holdup and getting that passed. Now they can get to work on all of the other things that that need to be worked on.
Well, and a lot of that is still up for grabs. Tomorrow the conference commissioners meet. There's still a lot to get to. Dan Wetzel from Yahoo Sports is going to join us here in just a moment to discuss some of that. And even in the chat, there was the discussion that if you're one of the top teams that will host a first-round game and your stadium is not a certain size, that you might have to play in what is a home neutral, like they do
Absolutely
in high school football. In high school football in the state of Texas, which if it's something that the two teams can't agree on home and or away.
I would, if I was one of those teams that made it, if I'm the 8th team and I'm from the group of 5, or I guess I wouldn't be the 8th team and hosting, but well, I guess you would. The 8th team, and I get to host a game against the 9 seed, and I might be the Sun Belt champion, and it's in my 44,000 seat stadium. They said, "Hey, yours an NFL stadium that's 90 miles away." I'd be like, "Eat every part of my butt."
Yeah, I mean, sorry. Let me.
That's what I tell them.
Help out the team. Let me give away my home field advantage that we earned and give that away so we can sell more tickets. I don't think so.
See,
I understand.
Sell more tickets where the other school that's got bigger fan base
Let's help
can have
out
half the stadium.
Yeah. Let's help out the opponent that didn't have the advantage because we had home field. Now let's give that away so we can play in the Falcons Stadium and everybody can make more money. I don't agree with that, and I don't think every game has to be in front of 90,000 plus people. Sure, it makes the atmosphere great, but there's plenty of great games with 45,000 people in attendance. That's a sold-out smaller stadium, 50, 60, 70,000 that are just fine and are perfect environments when the matchup's right. So, yeah, I don't agree with that take there.
And if they can host a game like that in a smaller stadium and win and move on and make more money, maybe they do get even more added to the stadium in which they play, and maybe not. That's their prerogative. When we